St. John the Philosopher here. Hallmark movies appear to be something of an entertainment anomaly. There are plenty of movies and TV shows where there is a disconnect between critics and audiences, or even entire franchises that, in spite of mediocre to terrible storytelling, have made a bazillion dollars at the box office. But Hallmark movies seem to occupy their own lane in this regard. They have vaguely competent, if not repetitive stories, and okay actors that mostly do a decent job delivering their sometimes mildly amusing dialogue. I mean, almost everything about Hallmark movies could be described with some variation of the word mild. In a world where such a thing could tank a project's bankability or even doom it to never be made in the first place, you'd think that would be a bad thing. And yet for some reason, a whole lot of people seem to like them. I think I have an idea why. But before we get to that, if you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to hit that like button, share these videos, and please do subscribe. It's no big deal to you, but it means a whole lot to the channel. I will reluctantly admit to having enjoyed 1 or 2 or 52 of these things over the years. So I've been thinking a lot about why I find them even a smidge tolerable, given the sometimes overly critical eye I often cast on the entertainment I consume. A YouTuber I follow once described Hallmark movies as, quote, nice life simulators. And it's kind of hard to argue. We've explored wineries, Christmas tree farms, and maybe 30 different variations of food preparation techniques across a wide variety of picturesque small town landscapes. We've been to every kind of festival, fair, or pageant ever to exist and watched one couple after another fall in love through it all in just about the same plot each time. But dang it if it all wasn't just so stinking nice to watch. And that's certainly part of the thing that makes these movies stand out. They're kind of like the Twinkie. Remember back in 2012 when Hostess had to shut down operations briefly during their bankruptcy proceedings? Headlines everywhere declared the end of the Twinkie, and people lost their ever-loving minds. Back in 2009, Woody Harrelson's character in Zombieland was obsessed with them. And the joke was basically replayed a decade later in a 2019 episode of The Orville.
Oh my God. Oh God. My God. It's so good.
Regardless of the fact that the sponge cake isn't all that great, the cream filling is every bit of the word basic, and it's packed with more chemicals than Bill Nye's old lab, people really, really like them. And I think it's about more than the Twinkie. It's about how it makes people feel. It's a comfort food. It takes you back in time before the corporate grind, before taxes and speeding tickets, back when the most worrisome thing in your world was Thursday's math test. That first bite can remind you of the pure joy you used to get when you found one hiding under the bologna sandwich at the bottom of a brown paper bag at lunchtime. Sure, your palate has expanded since then. Your tastes have become more sophisticated. You've had decadent chocolate soufflés and expertly crafted cheesecakes. You may have even tasted something super expensive, decorated with gold leaf and made with unicorn tears or something. But you can still grab one of these things out of a vending machine, and it makes you feel good. A Twinkie is sugary nostalgia wrapped in plastic, and Hallmark movies are Twinkie films. Have you watched an old movie lately? I mean, old, like 40s and 50s old. The kind of movies that built Hollywood. They were enjoyably simple. Now, don't get it twisted, though. The stories were engaging and entertainment, the performances iconic and even mesmerizing at times. By simple, I mean more so that they were uncluttered. There was something really pure about them. As the media matured, the public's movie taste buds got more sophisticated as well. We wanted new and interesting shots, more exotic locales, and all the special effects you can squeeze out of an army of digital artists rendered on supercomputers 5,000 times more powerful than the ones we used to land on the moon. Even in the relatively low-budget, low-stakes world of romantic comedies, we wanted more. And that's what we got. The typical Hollywood rom-com in the 21st century is an object lesson in what I call hyper-realism. Now, the basic idea behind most dramatized entertainment is to craft stories that could be real, but turning everything about them up to 11. You can kind of blame stage plays for this because everything had to be big there so that people in the back could understand what's happening. As amazing as it is for an actor to be able to demonstrate a range of emotions with tiny expressions on their face, there are no close-ups in theater. So emotions are acted out with your whole body. This kind of maximized dramatization made its way onto the screen in many ways beyond just actor performances. But I think today's movies have escalated even that to an untenable level. Dramatization has given way to that hyper-realism I introduced earlier. For example, it's realistic to have a mean boss. But in hyper-realism, he's a sadistic tyrant. It's realistic for people to have professional rivalries. But in hyperrealism, it escalates into gang war level street violence. That isn't to say there's no place for hyperrealism, but when it comes to modern movie making, there has come a point where the hyper has overtaken the realism and affected the crucial element of verisimilitude. I know, more big words, but stay with me. Basically, verisimilitude is the appearance of being real. It's the portion of entertainment that people relate to because it reflects their lives. Even in a world full of fantastical, dare I say, magical goings-on, we can still relate to the idea of going to school, dealing with bullies, and navigating the complicated relationships between teenagers. If these aspects weren't present to ground us, we'd be lost. And I think that's where we are right now. Creators are encouraged to draw from their own lives in order to generate that necessary verisimilitude. But the gap between the lived experiences of Hollywood writers and us regular folks in flyover country has grown so wide that many story elements that should be touchstones of a shared culture have become unrecognizable and, frankly, unwanted. For example, in the original Cinderella story, this is the fairy godmother, a sweet and generous older lady who dotes on our protagonist. We can relate to this, either in our own lives or in the lives of someone we know, maybe a relative or a family friend. In one of the most recent live-action remakes of the classic story, however, this is the fairy godmother. Most of us not only can't relate to this person, but are put off by the fact that the original version we know and loved was replaced. This kind of disconnect has even extended into the way characters are written. The people we're supposed to root for are thieves, liars, and narcissists. They make immoral choices and never face consequences. They enjoy undeserved favor without a hint of humility. And the only thing their stories offer in the way of character growth is that they eventually learn to recognize how awesome they already are. If you've been wondering why you can't seem to connect to the people depicted in modern entertainment, here it is. These characters aren't good people. Now, we just kind of took it all on the chin for a while there, simply chalking up these moments of confusion, eye-rolling, or downright disgust as the price we had to pay for the other 60 to 80% of actual enjoyment we got. Much of that, I think, was simply because there weren't many other places to go, but we couldn't help but long for something more palatable, and our eyes turned to nostalgia. And while our old movies and TV shows have held up pretty well over time, a fact I will be exploring in future videos, by the way, it's not even those specific shows we were looking for so much as the feeling they gave us. The Twinkie feeling, if you will. There was a wholesomeness to them, warmth and earnestness wrapped in a bit of entertaining fluff, with no bitter aftertaste. Somehow, Hallmark managed to crack the code to become the name in feel-good movies, delivering easily relatable stories reflecting a recognizable set of values and mostly devoid of the controversial and distasteful elements currently overtaking Hollywood. And hey, they make my mom and my wife happy. What more can a guy ask? I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, come on! Tell me what you think of this video. What do you think about Hallmark movies? Do you think Hollywood's depravity created the need for more wholesome entertainment options? Discuss in the comments. In the meantime, be sure to like, subscribe, and share for more videos on the religion, culture, and politics in our entertainment. That's all for today. Goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you in another video.